G'day guys and gal, no one has been shafted harder in the lore than the Iron Hands. Their paint scheme is wildly basic and unexciting, their Primarch was the first to die, thus got piss or character development, and they legitimately only have one unique official model on the web store. So it's pretty hectic that they also control the Keys of Hell, the blanket term for a bunch of extremely spicy technology that even Ferrus Manus locked away because he thought it was a bit too much. And this is coming from a guy that drowned a Necron construct in lava with his bare hands. Technology so sacrilegious and distasteful that the emotionless iron lovers didn't want to use it, until they did, and boy it was awesome. You're in for a treat today. Before we get started, another week, another opportunity to subscribe. 40k lore isn't super hot right now in the algorithm, not asking for pity, that's just how it is. What that does mean though is I gotta work for my subs, which is why I'm busting out the Keys of Hell video, but also why I'm asking you that if you find this entertaining, or the concept of cyborg zombie iron hands, yes that will be discussed in this video, as interesting, then hit the subscribe button. At 600k we have something big planned, but only for when we actually get there. Today we'll go over the various Keys of Hell, what they are, why Ferrus locked them away, and if they were ever used or not. Let's get into it. Now GW, being the fucking tease they are, have name dropped at least 6 Keys of Hell technologies, but only fleshed out the lore for one. But before we dive into what that was, let's give a bit more context on what the keys actually are. During the Great Crusade, a lot of technologies were discovered, either on dead human worlds or taken from recently conquered worlds. STCs were the most prized of these, and were mostly just handed over to the Mechanicum. Other more interesting tech was also usually handed over to the priests of Mars, who would either adopt it, archive it, or destroy it as tech heresy. However, the Iron Hands' knowledge of technology was almost equal to that of Mars, hence when they found cool shit, they would generally keep it for themselves. That's why the Iron Hands who survived the Horus Heresy was such a pain in the traitor's ass. They had super cool tech that the traitor legions hadn't even dreamed of, so were constantly taken by surprise. Like the fucking Iron Hands had this golden bird thing, and a super life support thing, and a time warp thing. It was awesome. However, for some of this tech, Ferrus Manus stepped in and was like, ooh, fuck me dude, this one is a bit too red hot. However, due to his curiosity, could not just bring himself to just straight up destroy the tech, so he locked it away and sealed it within the Keys of Hell, a bunch of vaults around Medusa and nearby asteroids that were also a reference to the Medusan gods of the Iron Hands' home planet. Now the keys were not actual keys, nor were they particularly difficult to access if you were an Iron Father. It was more so the will of Ferrus and the respect his legion had for him that prevented anyone from using them. But the idea was that in extreme situations they could be accessed, and boy would an extreme situation emerge when Fulgrim sliced off Ferrus's head on Isstvan V, leaving the Iron Hands Legion fatherless and full of cold calculating rage. No more holding back, the Keys of Hell were turned, the technologies unleashed. As I've said, GW is a fucking tease when it comes to most of what they do, but let's try guess purely based on the names before getting into the one we learnt a shitload about. First is the Aegis protocols, and with Aegis not being a real fucking word, it's hard to determine what that could be. Maybe some kind of extreme computer virus that destroys all technology within a huge radius. Then there's the 8 Sleepers, which man, that could be interpreted in a shitload of ways. I personally do have an 8 sleep, which is really handy for sleeping better, but I doubt an electronic mattress protector that tracks your sleep is locked away by order of Ferrus Manus. Then there is the Ophidian scale, Ophidian meaning to relate to or resemble a snake. Snake's been a metaphor for traitors, so perhaps a device that allows you to control someone's mind and have them turn against their allies. Then there is the progression of the 7th gate, which sounds like some kind of Naruto power-up. And finally, the Sacrosan formulae, with Sacrosan once again not being a real word, so maybe some kind of bioformulae that produce an effect so abhorrent that Ferrus decided to lock it away. A lot of these technologies very well could have been extremely fucked, which is why they weren't deployed at all, or at least not in any meaningful way during the heresy. However, the key that was turned and deployed was cybernetic resurrection. This technology allowed you to recover a very dead corpse of an Iron Hand and bring him back to unlife, often with their memories and skills intact. Recently slain people, or people given command modules of the cybernetic resurrection, were able to maintain a lot more of their cognitive function and even personality. Iron Hands who were brought back, then killed again, could then be brought back again, as the majority of the cyber zombies were over 90% machine. It's almost like it only required your soul to function. The best way to describe it would be like turning the Iron Hands into Necrons, most of them being these automata without personalities or even real consciousness, but a few of the overlords or whatever were quite interesting and would lead the rest. This Key of Hell also involved a degree of AI in order to use properly, which is another layer of tech heresy. In the lore, an Imperial Fist captain accompanied accompanied an Iron Hand Astartes to go try find surviving Iron Hands that could be brought back to Terra. They tracked a beacon and discovered a damaged Iron Hand ship with an extremely mechanical warrior on board. The warrior was a cyber zombie, but unless you knew what to look for, you could just assume he was super augmented. As the two parties spoke, enemy vessels also arrived who had locked onto the beacon. The Iron Hand zombie begins some kind of activation sequence, which was the resurrection of thousands of his dead brothers who were frozen. Although they take a beating, the resurrection is successful and the thousands of Iron Hand zombies board the enemy ships and slowly but steadily wipe them clean of life, their zombie forms offering them an obscene amount of durability and strength. It's made clear that this group of Iron Hands have used this strategy numerous times to great effect. The Imperial Fist captain is abhorred by what he has witnessed and attempts to shut it down, but the Iron Hand who came with him sees it as necessary and stops him, getting killed in the process. But he survives, becoming one of the Cyber Zombie Legion, the Revenants of the Iron Hands. They subdue the Imperial Fist captain and take him back to Terra, telling him that they will continue slaughtering the traitors as there can be no true victory, only vengeance, only the causing of agony for the traitors. They then go back into the Void, hunting for more heretics. This particular key of hell would never be properly locked back up, although mass use of it, like what was used during the Heresy, would never be seen again. Whenever a particularly notable or powerful Iron Hand was slain in combat, there was a chance that the cybernetic resurrection would be employed to bring them back, creating a Hellfather. Hellfathers aren't particularly notable within the Iron Hands as they never speak and act more like bodyguards for the Iron Council, and they also pretty much never leave Medusa. They are also almost entirely machine. Very few in the Iron Hands chapter know their true nature, just assuming that they are particularly cold, very augmented battle brothers. Hellfathers also have all their insignia and identifiers removed, so they are just these unliving hulking brutes that would staunch the hell out of you. With the Keys of Hell, the Iron Hands are one of only 4 legions, or chapters, that have spicy war crime no-no weapons. The others being the Dark Angels, who were gifted all the Dark Age of technology stuff by the Emperor, stuff that would give even a Necron nightmares, the Salamanders, as the artifacts of Vulcan were so advanced that they could compare to the Dark Age stuff, and the Iron Warriors, with Perturabo being quite the inventor of horror fuel weapons himself. It's definitely a bit of a missed opportunity not to unveil more keys or turn them open. The Iron Hands have just as much right to be cool as anyone else, and if you actually read their Horus Heresy lore, it's some of the best in the entire series. But I guess it does make sense. Even if they got all these dope-ass new lore and new models, I'd probably still keep painting my Dark Angels, Custodes, and Smexy-ass Eldar. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be, where we have a bunch of live action nude cosplays, a boatload of Battlemace 40 million hentai, and a bunch of Warhammer 40k fan arts. Hit the subscribe button and hit the real subscribe button for more hellish content. Join the Discord for more memes and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.